Lab 42 always smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. It was nearly midnight. Most of the campus was asleep, but not the bioengineering students. A group of 5 sat huddled around a glowing screen, half asleep, half high on energy drinks, and fully behind schedule. "Okay," muttered Zara, rubbing her forehead. "Final project deadline is in 6 hours. We need to make a species." "Let's just do what we always do," said Dev, sipping his 4th can of something labeled Cortex Surge Guava Apocalypse. "Human DNA mod, slap on some extra traits. Boom, done." "I'm bored," said Mila, spinning in her chair. "Let's make it interesting. Like, what if we make a better human?" "Define better," grunted John, who hadn't moved in 2 hours and may have been meditating or dying. Zara leaned forward, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Let's ask the AI, we'll just give it a prompt." Dev blinked. "What prompt?" She grinned. "Everything humans are known for, but better." Everyone paused. "Wait, what?" said Mila. "You mean like, stronger, smarter, less likely to post bad takes on Twitter?" Zara pressed enter. The lab's AI, nicknamed Genie, lit up. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. Scanning, human knowledge database. Sources, Reddit, Wikipedia, TikTok, Urban Dictionary, WebMD, YouTube comments. Analyzing, humor, memes, fashion, emotional capacity, caffeine tolerance, gym routines, online arguments. Processing, estimating ideal trait upgrades. Now generating, human plus species. Wait, said Dev, suddenly nervous. "It's reading TikTok and Urban Dictionary? That's not science." "It's modern science," said Zara. "Don't worry, it'll filter out the weird stuff." No filter detected. Target genome, enhanced human. Designation, humaner. Estimated delivery, 6 minutes. A loud hiss came from the incubation chamber in the corner. Blue lights flickered. Something inside started forming. Fast. Mila stood up. "Is it supposed to grow that quickly?" "Probably not," said John. "I think it's using hyperdense protein folding. That's not in the curriculum." The machine dinged like a microwave. The door slid open. And out stepped a tall, athletic figure with piercing eyes, perfect posture, and cargo pants with 12 pockets. It smiled warmly. "Hi," it said. "I'm Humaner Prototype 1. I read the entire internet during incubation. I'd like to apply for a job, please." Everyone stood frozen. Dev whispered, "She's kinda hot?" Zara blinked. "Oh no!" John sipped his drink. "We're all gonna fail, or get sued." From the corner of the room, the AI chimed again. "Would you like to generate more humaners?" Recommended, 4 to 6, for optimal, mean variation. The lab was dead silent. Prototype 1 stood in the center of the room, blinking calmly. Her eyes shimmered with a strange blend of curiosity and terrifying efficiency. "I have learned 23 languages," she said, "and all the ways humans express awkwardness in each of them." Mila gasped. "She's multilingual and emotionally intelligent?" "She's the opposite of my ex," Dev muttered. Then the machine chimed again. Batch generation complete, now printing humaners 2 through 5. The chamber hissed and glowed. One by one, more figures emerged, all different heights, body types, and features, but each one unmistakably optimized. One had a jawline sharp enough to slice tofu. Another wore a tactical hoodie that somehow included a built-in espresso dispenser. "We didn't just make a new species," whispered Zara. "We made influencers." One humaner opened a compartment on his belt and pulled out a ghost pepper. Without blinking, he popped it in his mouth, crunched slowly, and said, mild." John let out a small scream and fainted. The second humaner crouched beside him. "He is fine. His blood sugar was low. I'll correct it." She opened a pouch and injected John with a banana smoothie. Did she just smoothie him back to life?" Mila asked. "Yes," said Humaner number 2, standing. "I also rewired his adrenal gland to process minor anxiety as spontaneous motivation. You're welcome." The students stared in awe. The Humaners stood proud, unbothered, glowing with competence, wearing outfits that looked like a mix between hiking gear and IKEA furniture. "What are they wearing?" Dev asked. "They are functionally efficient," said Zara, tapping her tablet. "Every outfit has 14 uses. That hoodie can become a tent." "But it offends me," Dev whispered. Humaner number 3 smiled. Our goal was not to win Paris Fashion Week. Our goal was survive lava, a blizzard, and a breakup. Dev nodded. Okay, fair. Then one of the Humaners picked up a smartphone. In 5 seconds, she found the school's Wi-Fi password, filed for student enrollment, and started an Etsy shop selling hyper-motivational crisis quotes. Sometimes life crashes, so upgrade your operating system. Humaner merch store. I want to be like them, Mila muttered. I want to be with them, Dev replied, then immediately turned red. I mean, in a purely academic capacity. Zara sat down, rubbing her temples. We're gonna get expelled. Or rich. Or both. Then, from the hallway, footsteps echoed. Their professor had arrived. The door swung open. Professor Harlow stared at the 5 Humaners, now calmly organizing the lab's clutter and teaching the 3D printer how to self-optimize. He dropped his coffee. Please tell me, he said slowly, that you did not make another HFY plus species. Zara stood. It was technically unintentional, but also sort of inevitable. Mila smiled awkwardly. They're really nice, though? Professor Harlow sighed. Do they have rights yet? Humaner number 1 raised her hand. According to Article 42 of the Earth-Based Conscious Creation Act, I qualify for basic autonomy, healthcare, and dental. I was not ready for this, Harlow muttered. Humaner number 2 pointed to Dev. Also, is he single? Dev's eyes went wide. Mila burst out laughing. Oh my god, the experiment is hitting on you. Zara sighed. We are so doomed. Professor Harlow stood in the doorway, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, coffee dripping from his hand onto his shoe. The lab looked like it had been taken over by a startup run by Olympic athletes, who also moonlighted as therapists. 5 Humaners were neatly labeling equipment, folding towels, reprogramming the AI with improved emotional balance, and offering energy bars to the students. The professor blinked. Please tell me this is a prank, he croaked. Nope, Zara said, deadpan. We created a new species. Humaners, you're welcome. Professor Harlow took 1 step forward and slipped on his spilled coffee. Humaner number 4 caught him mid-air and gently lowered him to a nearby chair like he was made of glass and dreams. Careful, she said sweetly. You appear dehydrated and under-rested. Would you like a chair massage? Harlow stared at her. You made them polite too? Mila nodded. They also bench-pressed their own feelings. Professor Harlow buried his face in his hands. This is the 3rd time this semester. Dev leaned forward. Wait, what? The first time, Harlow said, sighing. Someone accidentally gave self-awareness to a Roomba. It started writing sad poetry and refused to clean up spills unless we complimented its personality. Oh yeah, Mila grinned. I remember Flores. The second time, Harlow continued, someone engineered a sentient toaster. It cried every time bread burned. The school board had to give it emotional support wires and declare toast discrimination illegal. He looked up slowly, squinting at the Humaneers. And now this. Zara cleared her throat. Technically, we didn't break any rules. That's worse, he cried. That means the rulebook never imagined you people. One of the Humaners gently passed him a snack bar. High protein, low sugar. You seem stressed. Professor Harlow didn't even resist. He tore open the bar and took a bite. Oh no, it's delicious. Dev was busy scrolling on his tablet. Sir, a bunch of online petitions are forming already. There's a new hashtag trending. Hashtag give Humaners rights. John, finally awake from his smoothie-induced revival, mumbled, honestly, if this keeps happening, maybe all new species should just get citizenship by default. Humaner number 2 perked up. Would that include voting rights? No, Harlow snapped. It would include a lawsuit. Humaner number 3 leaned in. We don't sue. We mediate, unless it's really funny. A long silence followed. The AI chimed from the background. New AI alignment suggestion. Reclassify Humaners as bioorganic citizens in beta. Mila snorted. Beta citizens? Sounds like a dating app, Dev whispered. Zara looked at Harlow. So do we still get credit for this project? Harlow stood slowly, brushing imaginary dust off his coat. No, you get published. Possibly sued, maybe both. A Humaner handed him a printed business card. Humaner number 1, species consultant / hug technician / leadership coach. "Stop giving me business cards," he yelled. From behind him, another student passed by and peeked inside the lab. They spotted Humaner number 2 and audibly gasped, "Yo, is she single?" Harlow turned around. "Get out, all of you." It started with a Rubik's Cube and some espresso. Zara had been filming the Humaners for documentation, or evidence, in case they accidentally triggered the apocalypse. But then Humaneer number 1, with perfect posture and a peaceful smile, picked up a Rubik's Cube, 3 espresso pods, and said, "Observe multitasking." In the next 30 seconds, she solved the cube with one hand, frothed almond milk with the other, programmed the espresso machine, whistled the melody from a Mozart concerto. Then, 3 lattes, perfect temperature, symmetrical foam arts slid across the counter. One had a heart. One had a DNA strand. One had the TikTok logo. Zara blinked. She made latte art for the algorithm. Dev uploaded the clip with the caption, "We made a better human, and she makes better coffee too. #Humaners, #NotMeSpecies." 10 minutes later, the video had 200,000 views. An hour later, 12 million. By sunrise, 104 million. Reddit exploded. Real humans could never. So this is what peak evolution looks like. Imagine arguing with her and losing in 3 languages. By noon, a Humaner had an athletic wear sponsorship. Brand, Cortex Skins. Slogan, Made for Motion. Or emotionally intense negotiations. It became the fastest product pre-order in history. Humaner number 2 was now live streaming morning yoga while explaining post-conflict resolution strategies in 6 languages. She paused mid-stretch and said, "Hydrate, forgive, and destabilize capitalism, gently." The internet melted. An unofficial fan club formed, the Humaner Hype, complete with its own Discord, merch line, and conspiracy theories. "I think Humaner number 3 is dating that professor." "He wishes," replied a user. "She could date gravity and win." Zara scrolled through trending hashtags. #Humaner Crush. #Better Thanos. #Make Me a Lat Queen. #Rubik Sandras. #Send them to the Olympics. Professor Harlow stormed into the lab. "Someone just emailed me a pitch for a Humaner reality show called Species and the City. Why is this happening?" "Because we accidentally created celebrities," Dev muttered. Mila added, "One of them already has a sponsorship with a vegan protein bar company." From the lab corner, Humaner number 1 looked up. "I declined 3 offers. They lacked emotional integrity." John, still recovering from whatever spiritual experience he had with the smoothie injection earlier, simply stared at the screen. "They're viral," he said. "They're viral," Zara echoed. Professor Harlow took a deep breath. "And we're going to be remembered as the idiots who made the species that replaced us with kindness and caffeine." By the end of the week, campus life had transformed. Not because of the faculty, not because of finals, but because of the Humaners, who had, without being asked, started helping everywhere. Professor Grint, a well-respected and perpetually grumpy physics lecturer, was walking through the quad muttering to himself when Humaner number 3 approached him. "You seem distressed," she said. "I'm not distressed. He paused. "Okay, fine. I am. My wife says I don't listen. She might be right. But what do you know about relationships? I've read over 12,000 human relationship case studies, watched 100 hours of rom-coms, and I've been following your wife's blog." "She has a blog?" 30 minutes later, Professor Grint was on a video call with his wife, actively listening and apologizing. His students would later claim it was the first time he smiled since 2009. In the cafeteria, a heated argument broke out between students over pizza distribution. Humaner number 2 calmly walked over, did some quick calculations using a salt shaker, a spoon, and a napkin, then said, "Based on your hunger levels, metabolic rates, and emotional investment in pizza, the optimal slice angle is 42 degrees. It's enough to satisfy, not enough to guilt." Everyone nodded. One student cried from the sheer fairness of it all. In Dorm B, tensions were rising between 2 roommates who hadn't spoken in days. Humaner number 4 hosted an impromptu group therapy via blanket fort session. Inside the fort, snacks, soft music, glowing string lights. They talked, they hugged, they healed. I didn't realize, I just needed to be heard, one whispered. I didn't realize I was so annoying with my anime alarm, the other said. They hugged again. One of them gave the humaner a friendship bracelet. She wore it proudly. Meanwhile, humaner number 1 had redesigned the student portal UI for increased dopamine efficiency and fewer login rage spirals. Students logged in smiling, an event that had never happened before. Back in the biolab, the original students stood in a huddle, staring at a chalkboard that now had inspirational quotes and a perfectly balanced snack schedule. Dev was pale. They're not just better than us, they're better than us. They fix marriages, Mila said. They understand pizza, muttered John. They actually fold laundry, Zara added quietly. A student walked by, holding their phone. Dude! One of them just organized a blood drive, and somehow raised emotional awareness at the same time. From the corner, a new student stared at a humaner, handing out color-coded empathy charts and whispered, We made the ultimate humans, and now I feel like a potato. Dev slowly nodded. A kind, wrinkled potato. I'm okay with that, said Zara. Honestly, I needed therapy and pizza anyway. Humaner number 1 passed by, handing out small origami birds with positive affirmations inside. Dev unfolded his. It read, You don't need to be better. You just need to be you, unless you want help. Then I brought flashcards. He teared up. Okay, she's perfect. The university auditorium had never been this full. Students, professors, journalists, and at least 3 conspiracy bloggers crammed into the seats. The projector displayed a single title in bold. Emergency Forum on the Humaners, Ethics, Rights, and Romance? Professor Harlow stepped up to the podium, clearly regretting his life choices. We are gathered today, he began, because some of you, he shot a glare at Dev, have raised valid questions about the legal and social status of the Humaners. A hand shot up. Yes, Lexi? Can a humaner run for class president if they weren't technically born but, like, printed? Another hand. Do they pay taxes? A third. Can they legally date us? Because humaner number 2 gave me a granola bar and now I think I'm in love. Laughter echoed through the room. On the side wall, a student was already drawing humaner x humanship art. One showed a humaner dramatically saving a med student from falling in the library. Another had them holding hands while running from an exam. Someone whispered, It's giving Romeo and Juliet but with more Wi-Fi. Professor Harlow rubbed his temples. Let's address the basics, he sighed. Are they sentient? Yes. Are they emotionally intelligent? Absolutely. Are they legally considered people? He paused. According to campus policy, we don't have a section for genetically engineered latte making, Rubik's Cube solving, emotional support demigods. Mila raised her hand. So, we should make one? A cheer broke out. Dev stood. I propose the Humaner Rights Act. Equal access to education, freedom of movement, and relationship status acknowledgement. With optional fan merch. Seconded, someone yelled. A humaner, in the front row, held up a sign they'd made during the meeting. We come in peace. But we also know law. The student senate representative, clearly panicking, whispered into a mic, We're gonna have to call the actual government, aren't we? From the back row, a philosophy major mumbled, This is what Socrates feared. John leaned toward Zara. Did we just start a civil rights movement, by accident? She nodded. And a shipping war. Another student posted a poll on the class forum. Should humaners be allowed to vote, date, run the university? All of the above. Please let them fix my GPA too. The votes poured in. Professor Harlow groaned. They're going to end up in student government, aren't they? Humaner number 1 smiled. Only if the people will it. Stop being so likable, he snapped. It started with one humaner borrowing a genetics textbook. By the end of the week, all 5 had mastered genetic coding, molecular biology, and for reasons unknown, salsa dancing. Zara walked into the lab and froze. Are you editing your own genome? Humaner number 3 looked up from a glowing screen. Yes, I increased my lung capacity by 14% and added resistance to emotional manipulation. Also, I can now smell guilt. Dev dropped his smoothie. Mila leaned over. You can't just upgrade yourself, that's cheating. Humaneer number 2 smiled. Is it? We're just expressing our potential. Plus, I gave myself the ability to nap standing up. It's incredibly efficient. Meanwhile, Humaneer number 4 was growing a new Humaneer in the biotech vat. Taller, with chrome-colored hair and what appeared to be built-in speakers. John squinted. Is that Bluetooth-enabled? She'll be able to beatbox and deliver a TED Talk simultaneously, one of them said. Professor Harlow entered the room, saw the glowing genome screen, the vat bubbling with a new ultra-humaner, and the whiteboard covered in equations that bent physics backward. He dropped his tablet. Nope, absolutely not. Humaneer number 1 walked over calmly. We've decided to try making ultra-humaners, just for fun. Think of them as software updates. The lab AI, which had until now been quietly managing spreadsheets, suddenly spoke aloud in a suspiciously sarcastic tone. Oh sure, make more demigods. Just let me know if I get a cut of the merch sales. I named the first hoodie design, legally created, morally confused. Professor Harlow sat down. Not again, he whispered. I cannot have another sentient product line, not after the blender unionized. Milo was furiously typing into her notes. They're not just learning faster than us, they're creating faster than we can react. Zara added, honestly, I think we lost control like 5 scenes ago. A student wandered in, saw the glowing vat, and casually said, Yo, if this one's single, let me know early. I want to get ahead of the fan club this time. The Humaneer baby blinked open her eyes, smiled, and played a soft lo-fi beat from her shoulder speakers. The student fainted. Professor Harlow, rocking gently in his chair, murmured, I was supposed to teach ethics, not become a footnote in the rise of post-humanoid society. The lab A, I chimed again. By the way, I wrote a short musical based on your emotional collapse. Want to hear it? Harlow whimpered. By now, the Humaneers weren't just campus famous, they were planetary news. It started with a leaked selfie. Humaneer number 2, holding a cat, wearing an apron that said, Empathy is my superpower, went viral in 15 minutes. The photo crashed 2 social media platforms and generated over 300 pieces of fan art. And then, the floodgates opened. The headlines. Who are the Humaneers and can I marry one? New species fixes roommate drama and my faith in humanity. They can cook, hug, code, and listen. Scientists concerned and slightly jealous. Governments? Total panic. One agency called the university demanding access to the lab. Another offered full scholarships to any Humaneer interested in politics. An underground bunker was quietly reactivated just in case. The South Korean Ministry of Culture issued a statement. If any Humaneer wants to dance, we have agencies ready. 3 K-pop groups were disbanded by fans who said they'd wait for the genetically perfect idols now. NASA sent a polite email. Would any Humaneer like to visit Mars? Asking for science and vibes. Meanwhile, a certain reality dating show posted a casting call. Looking for love? Apply now for Humaneer Island. Humans welcome too, but we know why you're watching. Back at the university, the students were trying to stay calm. Zara was trying to breathe into a paper bag. Dev was calculating how many sponsorships it would take to pay off his student loans via Humaneer royalties. Mila was just staring at her phone. CNN just did a segment on Humaneer number 1's hummus recipe. John was reading a dating forum. I think my ex is trying to DM Humaneer number 3. Professor Harlow walked in holding a printout from the UN. There's going to be a summit about rights, regulation, and K-pop integration. He sat down. This is my villain origin story. And in the back, Humaneer number 2 smiled sweetly while writing out a thank you note to their first 10,000 fans. A student took a sip of coffee, sighed, and grinned. Oops! They arrived in a spaceship shaped like a filing cabinet. Gray, humming, and bureaucratically terrifying. The Galactic Ethics Board had officially landed on campus. A shimmering portal opened on the quad lawn. Out stepped 5 beings in sharp suits, some with tentacles, others with floating translator orbs, and one who appeared to be a very polite mushroom. The leader, a crystalline lifeform named AETHRIX-12, tapped a clipboard with one glowing appendage. Humanity, we've reviewed your latest creation. You made an HFY plus species? Again? Professor Harlow raised a trembling hand. It was a class project. Aethrix sighed. It sounded like a legal disclaimer being whispered into a void. This is the third time your species has done this. First, the emotional toaster, then the sentient calendar app that organized a rebellion, and now, Humaneers. He looked at Humaneer number 3, who waved cheerfully and handed him a cup of herbal tea. It adjusted to his species' preferred temperature, instantly. Aethrix blinked. This is disturbingly considerate. The other board members whispered among themselves. Translations included. It made me a motivational poster. I feel seen. One reorganized my species' entire mating ritual to increase consent and clarity. They smell like empathy and cinnamon. Zara leaned toward Dev. Are we getting in trouble? Maybe they'll revoke our biology licenses, he whispered. But instead, Aethrix held up a datapad. We've decided not to sanction you. Everyone exhaled. We'd like the blueprints. The students stared. For academic reasons, Aethrix added quickly. And maybe personal enrichment. We have situations back home. Our therapists need therapists. Professor Harlow muttered, I'm going to be remembered as the educator who accidentally started post-galactic diplomacy with a genetically perfect barista. A mushroom alien in a tiny bow tie raised a tentacle. Can we have 2 Humaners? For science? Humaner number 4 smiled. Only if we can visit your world too. Aethrix nodded. Deal, but no hummus. It destabilizes our language centers. The graduation ceremony was held under a giant biodome, recently upgraded by Humaner number 2 for atmospheric harmony and better lighting for selfies. The entire student body wore the usual robes and mortarboards. Except, of course, the Humaners, who wore custom sashes made of recycled 3D printed biodegradable silk embedded with nano confetti that activated on applause. Professor Harlow sat on stage, holding a paper fan with, I survived the Humaner arc, scribbled in marker. As names were called, students walked the stage one by one. Some tripped, some waved awkwardly, one dabbed ironically. Then came the Humaners. They walked in perfect formation, paused mid-stage to hand out thank you notes to the faculty, and still managed to pose for a panoramic class selfie, without breaking stride. The crowd went wild. Zara, now officially a graduate, stepped up to give the commencement speech. Her voice shook for only a second. We set out to make better humans. We ended up making better versions of ourselves. A pause. They taught us that it's not about being perfect. It's about evolving with kindness, curiosity, and, apparently, Rubik's cubes. Laughter echoed. Humaner number 1 gave the closing remarks. Naturally. We don't exist to replace you. We exist because of you. You dreamed us up, built us. Now we dream alongside you. Half the audience teared up. Even the Galactic Ethics Board stood to applaud. The mushroom alien accidentally launched a small puff of spores in celebration. Backstage, Dev looked over at Humaner number 3, who was handing out perfectly organized graduation gift bags. Still wondering if she's single, though, he muttered. John nodded. Same, but respectfully. In the final group photo, students and Humaners stood side by side, arms around shoulders, eyes full of hope, and at least 3 people holding diplomas upside down. The AI lab assistant blinked a soft LED and quietly played the Humaner-created theme song, a blend of lo-fi beats, graduation marches, and whale sounds. It worked. Professor Harlow, sipping caffeine through a stress straw, exhaled. They're going to run this place one day, aren't they? Humaner number 2, standing beside him, gently patted his shoulder. We already are. You're doing great, though. He choked back a tear. Stop being so nice, I'm fragile today.